Welcome back, guys, to another video brought to you by your one and only Literary Pharaoh. Literary Pharaoh. On the road to work. I'm not on the road to work, actually. On the road. I came back from work. I'm taking my daughter to her soccer practice where she works on her soccer drills. And we are here in Houston, Texas, and there's supposed to be a severe freeze watch for tomorrow. Right now we are in the mid 60s. Prior to this cold front that's supposed to come in, they call it a cold front, but that's not a cold front. The natural progression of weather has a slow, gradual release model that it operates under. So in other words, you can't go from 60 or mid 60s, then the next day you drop to the low 20s. But a lot of people think that that's natural weather phenomena, and some people blame it on, global warming, which doesn't exist. There's no such thing as global warming. What's happening is that our ozone layer is being depleted due to all the toxic chemicals and the toxic waste that are, number one, being sprayed with something that they call geoengineering, but the catchphrase is called chemtrails. But a lot of people try to debunk chemtrails, but it's not. You can't debunk it because it's proven that they're spraying chemicals in the air. Now, some people are too blind to see what's going on in the air, but if you look up, oftentimes you'll see these streaks, these lines, and they want us to believe that those things are condensation. But we understand, if you go back to science class when you were younger, that condensation dissipates rather quickly. It doesn't coagulate and stick in the air and stay there. So there's a very distinct contrast between condensation and a trail of chemicals that are in the air. The chemicals are more dense, they're more toxic, so they're going to stick in the air a little longer. But if the government can have it their way, they would love to spray us with invincible chemicals where we can't see them. Invisible chemicals where you can't see them. But we have eyes and we see, but yet we do not know. And so what's going on in Houston, Texas is something called chemical nucleated ice storm or ice freeze. These things are done by the manipulation of air masses and air pressure using technology. Number one, there's something, I don't know if you guys know about this device. So it's a technological device. It's called ionosphere heaters, and it's been proven that ionosphere heaters can cause snowstorms. If you don't believe me, actually, I beg you not to believe me. Just look it up. Look up ionosphere heaters and look up the China experiment where they actually created a snowstorm in China. They can do that. They manipulate weather. Now you may ask yourself, why are they doing this? Well, it's for commerce. We understand that we are governed by a military-industrial complex, so everything is based upon military and defense, and everything's based upon the average man working for money, and then the system has to generate enough revenue to keep it going. So in order to kind of spike cost and to increase billionaires' pockets to make them even more rich, is to create these storms. You have weapons of mass destruction known as weather warfare, because they're using weather to cause massive destruction to people's homes. Because of this winter, many people are going to have busted pipes. A lot of things are going to happen to people's homes. And people are right now are out and about just shopping at stores, buying water, buying tissue, buying food, because everyone is in a panic. These things are all done by design. If you listen to my other video that I did on my channel, I forgot what the title was, but I talked about, it was about surface thinking and deep thinking. The surface thinking is to think that this is just normal. They do it this is part of programming, folks. They do it every year around this time. You have hurricane season, then you have the season where you have the freeze, the uncommon freeze that comes. We all know in Texas is supposed to be a warm tropical state for the most part. How did we get a freeze? How did we drop almost 40-something degrees overnight? But you guys deem that to be normal. And then this is what happens. When you have a slow, gradual release model from warm to cold temperatures, you're supposed to also have a gradual release model from cold temperatures back to warm temperatures. But what happens, because you guys don't think, you guys just think that this is normal. Just even when you put something on the stove, when you put hot water, when you put lukewarm water on the stove and you want to boil water, it takes time for that water to boil. It doesn't boil immediately, right? Now, I do have a tea kettle at home that boils rather quickly. if you put the temperature that you want, in about a minute, it boils that fast. Well, what's causing that water to boil at a much rapid pace versus me putting the water on a pot on a typical stove, on a typical electric stove? The difference is one uses electricity and one uses technology, which is the kettle that I have that turns the water hot in a matter of minutes. Not even minutes, I think even less than a minute. We watch the water just start boiling instantly. That's not a natural progression of how water goes from lukewarm or room temperature to boiling temperature, about 76 degrees to about 212 degrees, which is the temperature that water is at when it boils. So with that fact being established, we know that there's a certain type of technology that's allowing the water to get hot that quickly. Same thing with weather, same thing with the climate. When you go from 60 something degrees temperatures and then you wake up the next morning, it's in its 20s, that's not a natural phenomenon. That's not a natural progression of how weather is supposed to operate. Not in that quick of a cycle. So if now we know that the temperature decreases very quickly, it also increases very quickly, because we have here in Texas, every ice storm that we have, it hits for a couple of days, and then the next day it's like sunny as hell. Like when I say sunny, I mean sunny as if nothing ever happened. That's not normal. Also, if you study snow, real snow, not the fake snow that we have, the snow that we see here in Houston, Texas, is not real snow. You may ask, Literary Pharaoh, how do you know? Well, real snow is softer. Fake snow has something that has chemicals in it because it's chemically nucleated with chemicals that are causing it to happen with the technologies that I told you about, like ionosphere heaters, the manipulation of air masses and air pressure with these technologies that they have, right? So when you have a mixture of all these chemicals in the air and you're manipulating these particles and you're manipulating air pressure, mixing in water and condensation, and you have all these things going on in the atmosphere, what you end up having is that when snow actually occurs, it's not a natural element. It's hardened, it's very slippery. There are two particular chemicals that are in the snow that we have here in Houston. It's not real snow. There's something called desiccants. If you don't understand what a desiccant is, that's the chemicals that they put in deodorant, right? Deodorants have desiccants. Desiccants is what keeps you dry. It's a desiccant. That's why you have deodorants that have aluminum in them. And you know, of course, in chemtrails or in what they call geoengineering, when they're spraying things on us, they're spraying aluminum on us as well. And that leads to all sorts of brain malfunctions and Alzheimer's, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole other day. So in the snow that we have here in Houston, there's something called surfactants and desiccants. Surfactants are the soapy material that you have in your soap that causes it to lather. So when you have a mixture of a desiccant and a surfactant, what you have, that's why the snow is slippery. It gets iced up and it's slippery. That's not normal. Real snow is supposed to be real soft. It's not supposed to be hard. It's very, very, very soft. So the snow that we have here is not even real snow. It's fake snow. But we wouldn't know because, number one, most people are not traveled. Most people don't research anything, and they just take things as face value. They just think, oh, this is just what happens every year. That's what they call programming. They've programmed you to think that these things are supposed to happen every single year. But you guys don't take the time to think. So if temperature, when you have extremely cold temperatures that are really, really cold, that when it gets really, really cold, and then in 2 days, in probably a little bit over 24 hours, all of a sudden it's bright and sunny outside and it's warm enough where you can just go outside as if nothing happened. That's not normal. That's not normal. Radical temperature shifts are not normal, especially when it's that quick. Number one, there are two things that are not normal. Radical weather shifts in terms of temperature. Like you can't go from being in the 70s, then all of a sudden you wake up the next morning to the 20s. That's not natural. And what's also not natural is the amount of temperature, the difference, the contrast between what you start with and what you end with. It's not normal. There are many people that have been contesting and speaking out against geoengineering. This is when you're using chemicals to alter the geosphere, the geological sequence of what's supposed to be happening naturally. So you're anthropogenically inducing the geosphere and the atmosphere with your chemical concoctions. That's called man-made or induced weather. That's why they can predict the weather ahead of time. Now you say, no, these are meteorologists. They study the patterns. Well, you can study the patterns that somebody gave you. If I control the weather, then there's a pattern to what I'm controlling, and the meteorologist becomes the spokesperson for those who control the weather. Weather is a part of warfare. Information is part of warfare because they use information to manipulate the masses. They use weather to manipulate the masses and devastate regions in the world. They use it as a weapon to completely destroy homes, cause people to go bankrupt. I mean, do you know how much people have been out at stores today that I didn't even want to get out my car. I'm like, wow, everyone is out as if it's Armageddon. Because here in Houston, Texas, we're not used to it being cold. We're not accustomed to the cold as people who live in the northern states. There's a difference. All right? So I just want you guys to think a little bit that this is not normal. Now you may say, well, what's the point of knowing it? Well, knowing it is good because at least if you know, you can now shape your worldview to be leaning and to be based upon facts and truth. Even if you feel that you're powerless, or even if you feel like you don't have any sort of influence in turning this sort of dystopian reality that we're living around, even if you have that sort of sentiment that you hold dear to your soul, it's still good to know and to operate off of knowing. Right? Because if you know, that's good. I don't panic because there's nothing to panic off of when you know that these people are doing it. They're controlling it. They're controlling it. The same thing with the body and diseases. The way they've lied to us and told us that the immune system is what needs to be strengthened. And they convolute terminology by saying things like immune system, where in actuality it should be the lymphatic system. And diseases don't exist in the way they think that diseases exist. A disease is your body operate in a way to flush out toxins, whether through your epidermis, your skin, which is the largest organ of your body, or through other excretory organs like your armpit, you sweat, your mouth is an excretory organ. Some people throw up and vomit when they're trying to get something out. You cough, you have a runny nose. Your nostrils are also an excretory organ. Your eyes are an excretory organ. Your nose, because it has hairs in it, filters out toxins and takes in what it needs. The body is constantly cleansing itself. But the diseases that we have in our world, especially in America, are induced by the culture. The way we eat, the way we live. We are the disease. The disease is not cancer or high blood pressure or diabetes. Ignorance is the disease. All these other things that we have are just symptoms of our ignorance. 95% of things in the stores are poison. 5% are salvageable things, which are things that are mostly in the produce section. But I say that with a little bit of reluctance because even the produce that we have are stripped of its it being in its most pristine state. Because we know our atmosphere is polluted, so you're not going to get the best of the best, but you can get the best of the worst. So you got to take the lesser of two evils in the world that we live in. And yet people go to the poisonous sections to buy the poisonous foods, the toxins, and the processed foods, and the highly processed foods, and they end up going to the doctor, going to the dentist, going to this, going to that, going to that. We're a sick country, man. We're a sick country. We're a sick country. We're sick mentally because we don't think. If the masses would wake up, there are a lot of people that are waking up, but it's not fast enough. It's not fast enough. And many people are okay with the status quo, and they embellish these falsities because a lot of people have pensions and their incomes and their luxurious living, and the comforts that they have is more important than the truth. Many of the gatekeepers are those that know the truth, but they keep the lie up because keeping the lie up keeps them rich. So souls are being sold. Dishonorable actions are being pushed for people to do so. You know, it's easy for us to chastise those that are in higher positions who don't do anything about certain things, but you got to be careful, because if you were in those positions, it'll be probably difficult for you to be the one to say, hey, no, I'm going to be a whistleblower here. And we know in history, many of those who made the choice to be whistleblowers are no longer here with us. They're no longer here with us. They either died mysteriously, they committed suicide, or they were no more. They were not found. They were just not found. You can find them. They're gone. Wicked world. So yeah, just brace yourself, guys. Just do the best you can to stay warm in this freeze. If you are in Houston, Texas, I'm here in Houston, Texas, and it's gonna be in the low 20s. And just hang on. They do this to us every year. It's not natural. It's not natural. Even the months that we think are normal, you know, like you say December is Deca. Deca means 10, but yet December is the 12th month. You see what I'm saying? October, octagon, octopus has 8 legs. Oct is supposed to be the 8th month. October is supposed to be August. We're totally off. Our months are off. Our years are off. Our minds are off. Our DNA is off because it's been manipulated through all these vaccines that we've been taking. It's all in the foods that we eat, manipulating our genetics, causing us to be very, very dumbed down from our original design. Telomere capsules have been tampered with thousands of years ago to make sure that man doesn't live too long, because back then men didn't live for a very long time. When the Bible talks about people living for 800 years, some people did live that long initially, but no more. All right, peace. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. All right, peace.